says, Yahweh did not set his heart on you or choose you because you outnumbered more than any other people. That's not the reason. That is not the reason why Yah chose us. This is Moshe pleading. He didn't choose you because you numbered more than any other people. On the contrary, you were the fewest of all the people. All the peoples. All the peoples. Yaakov went into Egypt with 70 souls. That's what he went in there with. 70. Very small family. And then Moshe says, today you stand here as numerous as the stars of the sky. You know why that happened? It's because Yah's with them. Yah's with them. He increased their numbers. There is nothing on the face of this earth that exists without Yah giving it permission to do so. There won't be any growth and development without Yah. There won't be any prosperity in our lives without Yah. There will not be any food, clothing, and shelter without Yah. And it's never going to change. It's never going to change. He's not going to change what he said because we don't like it or because we don't understand it. It is what it is. 70 souls. That's all it was. That he takes 70 and turn around and make them as numerous as the stars in the sky. Just like he promised Abraham that he would. See? So if you think he chose them because they were the numerous and they were, 1.5 million people leaving, wrong. There's people bigger, stronger, taller, faster. But Yah chose us. That's a big deal. Rather, it was because Yahweh loved you. That's why. Okay? He loved you, Israel, and he wanted to keep the oath in which he has sworn to your ancestors that Yahweh brought you out with a strong hand and redeemed you from a life of slavery under the hand of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. There is a different word here that they're using here. They're using love, and we think love here is the ahav that we usually hear about, right? And love for us is very abstract because we don't know what it really means, right? Love means to look towards the house, right? Ahav means to look towards the house. Food, clothing, shelter, peace of mind, and even at times you have to, make sure that everything is running the way it's supposed to be ran. And if it's not, you have to change it. You have to get on it. It's uncomfortable, but you have to do that. What I want to share with you is that there's another word here that is being used in the Hebrew language that is quite different than what we have here about love. Okay. It says here, we're in what, verse number 7? Let's see here. We're 7 or 8. Yeah, I think it's 8, 7. Oh, here it is. There's a hav. Okay. All right. So what we have here in verse number 7, it says, Lo, the rabukem, meaning not because you number more than any other people, but he has set his love. That's what it says. He set his love. I'm sorry, my finger just went crazy. His love. And it's a verb, and it's perfect, and it's the third person masculine singular, and then letting you know that he here is Yahweh. Okay. So I want to show you what Yahweh did. Okay. Because this is important. The word here is not a hav. Okay. This word right here is called kashak. And I'm going to click on it for us so we can see it. Kashak. Okay. Kashak. Expand it a little bit. Okay. This word kashak here means to be attached to. Okay. Abstractly, they got their love, but the real true meaning is to be attached. Okay. in the Hebrew lexicon, okay, let me see. Oh, here it is. And so they get this idea from kashak as to bind something, like a saddle on an ass or a donkey, or, you know, to do a binding, you know, so to attachment, to bind, okay, to be bound or to be attached to, okay, to be bound or to attach, all right. And then they use it in ways to be attached, you know, figuratively, to be attached to someone through loving them, you know, how uh, Shechem, the guy who was in love with Yaakov's daughter, he just fell in love with her. He just was attached to her. He was just like, he wanted to bind himself to her, and he went to the fact of even raping her, you know, without even asking permission, right? And so he raped her, and the brothers went in and they killed him, right? For that deed that he did against the daughter of Israel, which is a telltale sign of what happens to those who violate Israel's daughters. So one of the words, though, that I wanted to share with you, I don't know if you can see my screen, but it has here the word kash. You guys see this? Tell me yes. Kash. And kash means to bind. Okay,
Yes.
that's the action. So it's binding something, is tying something, okay, to itself, okay, binding, tying it to you, drawing it close to you, something that is bound. So when it talks about how Yah, you can remember this word, by the way. In English, they would call it hush, but it's really kash. They just switched out the CH for H, hush versus kash, right? So it means to be bound. So when Yah says that it said he has set his love upon them, he's saying that I've taken you to myself when you were in a position of slavery and being mistreated, and no one having any concern for your care, no one, you know, looking and hearing your cases, no one executing justice for you, no one coming to your defense, no one, looking to do right by you. I came, and while you were in that state, okay, I came and took you and I bound you to myself. I brought you near to me. You never drew near to me. I drew near to you. I came and got you. And I want you to remember that I'm the one who took you and bound you. I'm the one who's been holding you, feeding you, clothing you, giving you food, water, and protection. Because I love you. Okay. It wasn't some emotional thing. It was, I love you to the point where I'm looking out for your well-being. And in that love, we got this word right here called kasha, which is to be bound here. Okay. Silence. A mouth that is bound. So I want you to see that the love that Yah had for Israel when he stopped talking. When he stopped talking, the 10 words after that, it was his love for them that stopped it. Because he knew that if he would say it, he would end up ultimately killing every last one of them. That's why he stopped. That's why Moshe is saying this. They understood what kasha meant. You and I don't understand what it is, because we think love is, being nice. We think love is not, buying something for someone or letting them get away with things and not saying anything, in that sense. But what I'm finding and I've discovered is that silence can be love too. Because you can bound your mouth and you can say, you know what? You said something that made me feel a certain way. And I could take and make a decision to go on either way. But what I'm going to do is, I think the best thing for me to do is just to be quiet. So I won't say nothing that can bring you harm. I hope you understand that as fathers and husbands, and you and I have the power to speak and curse your children. And you and I have the power to disavow vows that people have made. You have that kind of power. And because of that kind of power that you have to be able to be silent, because sometimes if we speak, it's not good to talk all the time. Sometimes it's good not to say anything. And that's something that I'm having to learn. But that's the root of the word. But there it is. This is the parent, the child root now. We looked at the parent to bind, and this is what it is, kashak, right here, which is a desire. It's a joining together in love or through a connection, okay? To make someone to have an attachment to another, okay? To bind yourself. So they're using this word affection as an attachment, okay? To make a connection. So you could see how much Yah loves Israel, because Yah has decided himself to attach himself to them. That's why. He didn't do this because of their greatness. He didn't attach himself to them because they were, the most desirable. He took it because he loved them, and he said, you know what? I'm going to attach myself to you. I'm going to give you, I didn't choose you because you were, the great. I chose you because you're the least. And then he says here, this one here is the love, which is a hav, which is to look towards the house. To look towards the house. Yah will look towards the house of who? Let's see. Who did he look towards the house of? Was it their house, or was it, what house did he look to? He said that he looked towards the house for you because he would keep, which means he did something. He guarded, because that word right there, umishimaro, means to guard. He guarded what he had said. He swore a promise. I'm going to click on it for you. It's called shamar. Shamar means to watch over and to preserve and to keep watch. So this whole time that they were going through what they're going through, even through time, Yah has been guarding, and he's been watching us. He's been watching. He won't allow Israel to be completely destroyed. He'll allow what they did to come upon them, but he's still watching. He said, I'm watching over the oath. And if you want to know what the oath here is, this is the word for 7. Okay. And this one right here is the word for 7. They have literally the same root, which is this shin, this bet, and this ayin. You come over here, it's the shin, the bet, and the ayin. Okay. And because he's made a promise and he swore an oath, okay, which he swore, he has to, that's what he's guarding and he's protecting. Listen, he's guarding and protecting, and this eth right here is an arrow pointing you directly what he's guarding, protecting. So in order for him to keep what he said to our fathers, right, and he's guarding the what he told our fathers, he is guarding that which belonged to our fathers, which is our fathers' children. This is the reason why he's asking you and I to what? To guard his commandments. Because if you guard his commandments, then you'll guard the safety of what he said, and you'll be able to help along. Not he doesn't need our assistance, but you will be falling in compliance to what the covenant is all about. Okay. The oath that he swore to them is that he's going to give them land and he's going to give them descendants. The land part is the easy part. That's the easy part. Okay. That's the easy part. The hard part is the descendant part, because it's the people that have to do what he says. He can't force this on us. I want you to understand that. The relationship can't be forced. It can't. If his children and his people, his wife, because that's how he looks at us, by the way, because in some scripture you hear, my wife, oh daughter, oh, how long are you going to be a rebellious daughter? How long are you going to be a rebellious son? How long are you going to be a disrespectful servant? How long are you going to be an unfaithful wife? How long? He said, I raised up children. I raised children up and they disrespect me straight to my face. That's what he says. Rebellious children. Yah's raised rebellious children, and they're still rebelling against him even to this day. I have redeemed you from a house of bondage, from the hand of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. Therefore, now know, understand, and know that Yahweh Elohim, he is Elohim. The whole reason and the purpose for everything that he's doing is to let us know who he is. And this is what he wanted everyone to know. He wants everyone to know that he is the Elohim. I am the Elohim. I am the power. I am faithful. That word right there is called a myth, or excuse me, an emunah, what they got the word aman, which is amen in English. Let's click it, call faithful. So Yah is faithful. He's aman, okay? He is ready. He confirms and he supports what he says. That's what it says in English. Okay. That's what it says in English. But let me show you what it says in the Hebrew text. Okay. So you'll know the difference. It has some comparables, but overall, it's a little bit different because it ties everything together. So we know what kashak is to have affection. So this is 1290. All right. This is the word, or the root word for faith or being faithful. It's called men, M-E-N, okay, or man, depending on how you pronounce it. Basically what it means to be firm, and it means a kind, like a species of an animal, a certain type, okay? And abstractly means sure, meaning you could believe that it is what it is. So for example, when you have an eagle, you know it's not a duck because it has certain characteristics and features that tells you that it's an eagle, okay? So the picture graph is a picture of the men, which is a picture of water or liquid, such as blood, okay? The picture of the noon, which is seed here, is a picture of a seed, and it represents continuance. So when you combine these, it means blood continues, okay? So I know you remember me saying that Yah had a problem with Israel joining with the other nations and passing their seed on to these other people, or having some other man put his seed into their daughters, because their daughters are fields, okay? And the males are seeds. I want you to look at life in a very agricultural perspective, okay? The sons are seeds that continues on the family, the vegetation. The daughters are the fields that the seeds are planted into. So what I don't want you to do is I don't want you to take your seed, which is holy, and put it in a ground that is not holy. I don't want you to take a holy ground and let someone put defiled seed in it. That's what this is about. Because if you do this, okay, you're going to destroy the kind, the species. See? So this is what it does. It continues by passing its blood to the following generation. Humanity is able to continue because it's passing its seed onto the same type. But what's different about Israel is that their seed is holy. It's different. You can't mix with these people, okay? And so which comes from the parent. The seed comes from the parent. The blood comes from the parent, right? So that through the idea of blood. And so this idea of strength through blood, so you get your, every characteristic that you have is supposed to be passed on. So if you pass on your seed to somebody who's not interested in what Yah's interested in, what you just did was you took that which was holy and you put it in the ground that says, I'm not going to produce those fruits. I'm not going to give energy to it. I'm not going to water it the way that it's supposed to. So therefore, when those plants come up out of that ground, it didn't have the care that it needed. It wasn't, the soil wasn't rich with minerals that God needs, that it needs. This is the importance of Yah bringing us back to our land, to plant us back in the land, so you and I will be the type of people that he's looking for, okay? That's why he has to cleanse us and so forth and so on. There's a question. Integration defiles. Integration does defile, and it's just the truth. Yeah, it is. It's a defilement. And that's just what it is. A kind is a kind. You can't mix different animals. The Most High says you can't let certain animals copulate with each other. It's a defilement. Do you know that's what in the beginning where the flood was? They were putting animals together and having different species, creating new species and destroying species. That's what this happens. It's contamination, it's defilement. Okay. So this word that you get your word faith and amun from, it comes from this idea of something that grabs hold of and supports. So when it talks about Yahweh's he's firm in what he said, he's like a pillar, meaning you could count on him because he's going to support that which he said. Okay. But here's the word that I was really interested in letting you know about, which was he grabs hold of. That's the connection between when he says that he kashak. Kashak means to attach. Okay. So what Yah has done is he's literally grabbed the people that he needed in order to bring about what he swore to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Now, you and I are not in this idly. You have a very significant role to play. You got a very significant role to play, okay? And the role that you and I are supposed to play is to say, okay, well, this is what you said that you were going to do for our fathers. What you're asking me to do is to do what you said so you can bring that about. So what do I need to do? And he says, okay, you need to do what I said. So that's why Moshe is pleading with Israel. And that's the reason why I'm pleading with you today, because I'm using his words that he spoke to tell the children of Israel, let's just do what he says. If you know that you're special, and if you know that God chose you, then you should act special. You should act special. You should want to be chosen. You should want to desire to be a special treasure to him. You should desire to want to be set apart. If you accept that that's what it is, and that's just what it's always going to be, and that you play a part in fulfilling this, you can actively, Yah has chosen you to actively participate in the process. That's what he's called us to do. That's what you and I are supposed to do, is be active participants in this. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. For from this, you can know that Yahweh Elohim is indeed Elohim. From what? Knowing what? That he came and got us. He's the only Elohim. He's faithful, meaning he took hold of us. He supported what he said. He keeps his covenant. You should know this. That's why the slavery piece is so big, because if he used slavery to tell us what is his intention is to guard his covenant that he made to our fathers. He extends his grace to those who love him. Those who say, guess what? I'm going to look towards your house. I'm going to do what you said. You're my father. You guys keep hearing me talking about this father thing because it's huge. If Yah is our father and he asks us to do anything, you and I's responsibility is to do it. And if he told us to do it, this is the way that I told you to do it, then this is the way you should do it. There's no conversation on that. It is what he says. And he's saying, I love you. And if I love you, you should love me. It has to go both ways. We can't say that we love Yah and we don't do what he says. But he extends grace to those who love him. The ones who love him are the ones who do what he says. Observe right here means do. D-O. I say, okay? His commandments. They do what he says to 1,000 generations. They do what he says. You and I are the ones who are part of the 1,000 generations. If we do what he says, then you get to continue to keep going. Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. You get to perpetuate. Just like if you had a field and you planted things in it and you said, I want this to continue to go on so I could pass it on to my next family, my kids who are after me. And you have to teach them how to take care of that field. You have to show them how the irrigation works. They have to get up early in the morning before the sun comes up, so you can show them how you can test the soil. You got to show them how to harvest it. You have to show them. So when we're talking about teaching your children, you're saying that you're getting up and you're teaching them and you're guiding them and you're leading them into the field and you're telling them this is what you have to do in order to keep this going for the next generation, because this is how you are going to survive. So if you get a field that is not going to bring forth the minerals that you need in it, then you're going to be wasting your time. So why put your seed in a ground that Yah says not to put it in? Why would you take a field that Yah told you not to put your seed in? He says, I will destroy you. And guess what? We say, forget it. He didn't mean that. He didn't mean that. He doesn't mean that. But we see in the book of Nehemiah that the people that had done what he just told them not to do, they had to cut them people off from Israel. Because no one gets it. They don't understand what this is about. And that is the that's the challenge, but yet it is. That's the sadness. Because no one wants to accept what he's saying. Because they want to mix everything together. They want to put the homosexuals in with the people. They want men to be girls and girls to be men now. This is what everybody wants. They want the clean with the unclean, mix it all up together. That's what you do. But he repays those who hate him. Because there is a group of people out here that do hate him. And the people that hate him are the ones who do not do what he says. They don't observe what he says. Because Western culture has influenced them to make them allow that they can say and do whatever they want, and they believe that there's going to be no consequences. Because they don't want to read. He says he's going to what? Repay those to their face. And he destroys them. That's what he does. And he says he will not be slow to deal with someone who hates him. He will repay him to his face. Therefore, you are to keep the commandments, the mitzvot, and the laws and the rulings that I'm giving you today, and obey them. Because if you don't do this, okay, if you don't do these things, Yah is going to repay you to your face. And we don't want that. Because, again, we put our guard down. We don't think we have any responsibility. We can say anything, and what it is, and there's nothing going to happen. I want to read one last thing to you before we close today, and you can enjoy your Shabbat. And no matter how hard and difficult these words are for us, because they're difficult for me, I know I might appear to you that I take these things and I know them well, and I'm established in it, but the honest truth is that I'm afraid. I'm afraid because we're not dealing with a human being. And whatever is in our mind about what he is and who he is and what it is, we don't know. And he says, you're going to know. These people had an experience with him. And all you and I are descendants of these people who had the opportunity to have that experience in the fire and all those things. And because we didn't see that fire, and because we didn't have that experience in that dark cloud and that thunder and that roar and that shofar blast, you and I really don't know who he is. But just as if he says, I'm going to judge you like I did your ancestors, it tells me, and from basic logic, that the only way that mankind will ever know that who Yah is by his coming and his appearing. That's the only way we're going to know it. I want to read a prayer to you that you can meditate on during the week. It's from Daniel, meaning Yah is my judge. Okay. Don right here. Dan means judge. Sorry. Dan here is judge. Okay. And IL here is El, meaning what? The powerful one. Yah is our judge. So when you read the book of Daniel, you'll know that it's El who's doing the judge. He's the judge. And he's the judge of all the earth. So in the first year of the Rayavesh, the son of Akashvarosh, the Mede, by the birth of who was made king over the kingdom of Akasdim, you may say, well, who are all these people? This is when Daniel was in captivity, and Babylon had taken Israel out of Jerusalem, and they destroyed Jerusalem. And, you know, Jerusalem was invaded 3 times before it was ultimately destroyed. Okay. Nebuchadnezzar went there once. He took a couple of people. He went back again, got a second batch. And the third time they rebelled against him, he said, I'm destroying it. And that was all because they refused to do what Yah said. That's the reason why. And so right now he's in the custody of the Persians, because the Persians came in ultimately and defeated Babylon. And so the Medes are there, and, you know, he's saying, hey, we're being ruled now by this guy who's a king over the kingdom of the Kasdim, meaning over the Medes. The Medes are the Persians. That's who this guy, they call him Darius. You know, you probably hear him called Darius, or D-R-I-U-S. Okay, Darius or Darius, depending on how you say it. Darius, Darius. Okay, so he's the king at the time. Okay, it says in the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, was reading the scriptures. Okay, this is what he was reading, the scriptures. The scriptures here are the things in which he's going to tell you what the scriptures are. So when someone tells you that the New Testament is the scriptures, you could go right here and show them what the scriptures are. Okay. And it says, and I was thinking, because that's what happens when you read the scriptures. You start thinking about the number of years in which Yahweh told Yehu the prophet. So now we know what scriptures he's talking about. Prophecy. The prophet. He's reading Jeremiah's prophecy in his day. He says that it would be a period of Jerusalem's destruction, 70 years, because Yah had said it's going to take 70 years and you're going to be in the land of Babylon, right? But he was there longer than 70 years. And he was like, what's the problem? So let me go search the scriptures. I thought, like we do, I thought, if we're here for 400 years, there's something up. What's the timetable? What's going on? Because now I thought Babylon, I've been here since I was a kid. So now I'm over 70 years old. What's going on? The timeline, is he going to come and get us? And so he turned to the master, Yahweh, okay, his Elohim, and he said to seek an answer. That's what he turned. And again, like I always instruct us, the best way what you could do and I could do to seek an answer is from my Yahweh. You don't want to seek your answer from people. Can't trust them. But again, the word that I want you to focus on is he started pleading with him, just like Moshe. That's our theme for this week, is pleading. Plead. That's what we need to do. We need to plead. He pled with him in prayer and with fasting and sackcloth and ashes. So now you see the setup. When he approached the Holy One of Israel, he didn't casually just go in front of him. He put himself down and he said, I prayed to Yahweh, my Elohim, and I made this confession. So I want to teach you about prayer. If you ever intend on praying, this is not always required, fasting and sackcloth and ashes, but the mindset is there. Take that with you. Take usually when people do this, it's because they're saying, I'm really down. Okay. Don't go to Yah lifted up. Go to Yah and pray to him when you're down. Okay. When you really want an answer, you got to have a certain mindset, right? And so the prayer life here is number one is to what? Confess. That's the first thing you want to do. That's number uno, is to confess. Confession is part of prayer. I don't think we do enough confession. I don't, but there's so many things wrong with me that I don't want to look at. But I have to learn how to confess. I have to tell Yah what's going on with me. What are my faults? I need help. Help me in these areas. That should be the first thing that comes out of our mouth is a confession. And he said, please, Yahweh, great and fearsome Elohim, who keeps his covenant and extends grace to those who what? Love him and observe his commandments. Do you see the connection about what we just read in the book of Davarim? When he says that he extends his covenant and extends grace to those who love him. It's only those who love him will get the grace. Okay. And observe. So it's not just you love him, but you got to do what he says. That's what it is. That's what this is about. So in his confession, he tells the Yah something about himself. He acknowledged that Yah was great, and he acknowledges Yah as fearsome. So he's letting him know, you don't just go to Yah and talk to him like your friend. You're not his friend. You have to acknowledge his greatness, and you have to acknowledge how terrible he is. And he keeps his covenant and extends grace to those who love him and observe his commandments. So this is not something that Moshe just knew and the children of Israel knew. It's something that all Israel should know. We have sinned. I want you to see how he flipped it. He didn't say I, he said we. When you get on your knees, you need to not only pray for yourself, but you need to pray for your nation. You need to pray for your nation. You need to pray for not just your family and your kids. You need to pray for the nation, that we, the nation, have sinned and done wrong, and we acted wickedly, and we rebelled and turned away from your mitzvot and your rulings. That's what we done. And he's in exile right now. So this is the exile prayer. If you go into Yah and you're talking about some other stuff that you don't need to be talking about, you're gonna have some problems because you're not understanding what's really going on. This is what's going on. This is what's going on in our life. And we could keep denying if we want to. We keep talking about other stuff that don't matter. We need to talk about what's really going on. Is that we, the nation of Israel, has sinned against Yah, we've acted wickedly, we rebelled, and we turned away from the mitzvot and the rulings. That's what we've done. We have not listened, okay, to your servants, the prophets. These are Yah's servants. He didn't say that we didn't listen to, of course, they weren't available, the disciples. So now you know who Yah's servant is. Yah's servants are his prophets who spoke in your name. This is one of my favorites because that's how you know who's a servant of Yah. A servant of Yah will speak in Yah's name. Question, has anyone in the New Testament ever spoken Yah's name? Answer, never, no one. They never spoken Yah's name. So because they haven't spoken Yah's name, they are not his servants because they're not prophets. If you don't speak in his name and you can't verify what he said and you can't authenticate what he said, you're done. And who does the prophets speak to? They speak to the kings, they speak to the leaders, and they speak to our ancestors and all the people of the land. So if there's no communication with anybody coming around talking about they're a prophet of Yah, they're a servant of the Most High, they have to go talk to the kings, they have to talk to the leaders, and they have to talk to the ancestors and the people. And guess what? That's what they're doing today, talking to us through the writings of Yahweh. You understand? So to you, Yahweh, belongs righteousness, but to us today belongs shame. To us, the men of Yehuda, the inhabitants of Yerushalayim, and all Yisrael. Again, to confirm and authenticate that he's not talking about just himself. He's talking about his people, the nation of Israel, not just Yehuda, in which he was part of that family, and Yerushalayim that he got taken away from, but also all Yisrael. And not only those who were there, but including those who are nearby and those far away throughout all the countries where you have driven them because they broke faith with you. There's your answer. We broke faith with Yah. That word right here is again, emunah, meaning what? We were unfaithful. We decided we're going to be a different type of people, a different kind of species. Yes. Listen what he says. Yes, Yahweh, shame falls on us. Not only on us, our kings, our leaders, our ancestors, because we sinned against you. Sinning against Yah means not listening to Yah. It is for Yahweh, our Elohim, to show compassion and forgiveness because we rebelled against him. It's not something that you and I can muster it up. He's not asking you and I to show compassion and forgiveness. This is what he is to do. That's what he's pleading to Yah for. Remember, he said he's making his plea. He's pleading Yah to show compassion and to show forgiveness, because in the book of Exodus 34, verse number 6, Yah says he's compassionate and he says he's forgiving. And a person that's rebelling against Yah needs compassion. A person they need forgiveness. But guess what comes before the compassion and the forgiveness? Confession. Admit where you're wrong. And Yahweh our Elohim, so that we can live by his laws. We didn't listen. We didn't listen to what? To the laws of Yah, to live by them, and which he presented us through his servants, the prophets. That's where we got the information from. We got it from the servants of the prophets. Yes, because that's what the prophet's job is to do, to bring the people of Israel back to Yah. Yes, all Israel flouted your Torah. Yeah, they were excited about the Torah. They flouted it. Yes. Yeah, we're Torah keepers. Yay, we're chosen people. But they turned away, unwilling to listen to your voice, which is the laws, the statutes, and the commandments. Therefore, the curse and the oath written in the Torah of Moshe, the servant of Elohim, was poured out on us. Why? Because they're unwilling to listen. And they turned away from listening to what Yah says. And that's everything that he says. Okay? He poured it on us because we sinned against him. He carried out the threats. So, like any loving, caring father, husband, if he tells you something and you go against what he says, he's carrying out the threats he spoke against us, meaning he's going to keep his word, and against our judges who judged us, and bringing upon us disaster so great that under all heaven nothing has been done like it, what has been done to Jerusalem. Ain't nothing been done. And guess what? We look at it and go, oh, that's not a big deal. We never saw it. It's been destroyed. Well, that was their hub for their relationship with Yah, because that's how they drew close to Yah. That's why he says you go by many days without a king, a prince, an offering, an altar, a sacrifice. Because once you destroy that, you destroy the place where you would be able to go and spend time with the Holy One and have communion with him. As it is written in the Torah of Moshe, I want you to pay attention. You hear this prophet talking about this is written in Torah of Moshe. This is the second time that he says this whole disaster has come upon us, because in the Torah of Moshe, you will find out if you do not do what he says, that there's going to be disaster. Yet we did not appease Elohim, Yahweh, our Elohim, by renouncing our wrongdoing and discerning your truth. We haven't done that. This is what Daniel's saying, a man who's beloved of Elohim. So Yahweh watched for the right time or the right moment to bring this disaster upon us. Because again, as stated, Yah has a certain time and he's watching, as I said, and he's going to bring it about us at a certain moment at the right time. So if you think you're getting away with it now, it doesn't matter, because there's coming a time. And when that time comes, disaster will come upon you. And this is what it is. This is how Yah is talking to us. You know, we chose this. We chose for Yah to speak to us through words. We chose not to listen to him. Okay. So now this is the way that we have to get it. So his words haven't changed. They're still letting us know if you're feeling some conviction and you feel like threatened, you should feel threatened. You should understand that. You should be afraid, because we're talking about life or death here. We're talking about what is required of Israel. Israel's not like other people. Other people could be passive. They can accept anything. They accept the foods that are given to them. They accept the way that people dress. They accept it. They accept, the kids talking crazy to their parents. They accept that. That's who they are. That's what they accept. They accept homosexuality. They accept it. Transgender, acceptance. Adultery, not a problem. Theft, not a problem. Idolatry, not a problem. So Yahweh watched for the right time, and he did it. He brought it. Why? Because Yahweh, our Elohim, was just. He's just in everything he did. Everything he did to us, he just. Yet we didn't listen. They still didn't listen. I told you a long time ago, this is what it is. Israel will not listen. Now Yahweh, our Elohim, who brought your people out of the land of Mizraim with a strong hand, thereby winning renown for yourself, meaning a name, as it is the case this day, we sinned, all of us, and we acted wickedly. So does any of us have the right to sit around and talk about anything right now? Do we like to point the finger at anybody else? No. Yahweh, in keeping with your justice, please allow your anger and your fury to be turned away from your city, okay, your holy mountain, because it is due to our sins and the wrongdoings of our ancestors that Jerusalem and your people have become objects of scorn among everyone around us. It's because of what our ancestors did. You understand? 17, therefore, our Elohim, listen. He's asking, he's pleading with him, listen to the prayer and our pleadings of your servant. You got to be Yah's servant. And if you want to plead and if you want to pray, you got to be a servant. And you have to have this kind of heart to acknowledge where you went wrong. You have to acknowledge the wrongdoings of our ancestors. If you don't acknowledge the wrongdoings of your ancestors, you think it's just on you. Well, you know, I didn't keep the Shabbat, and you think that's what it's about. No, they didn't keep the Shabbat. Well, they killed their kid. You need to think about what they did, so you won't do it. So he's pleading and he's praying, just like Moshe. And look, cause your face to shine on your desolated sanctuary for your own sake, not for ours, not for us, for him. May Elohim turn your ear and hear, and open your eyes and see how desolated we are, as well as the city which bears your name. See? So what bears his name? We do. We're desolated. His city's desolated. His sanctuary is desolated. You and I are desolated. Yah has an ear to hear us. He can hear us if he turns his ear to us. He can open his eyes. He created the eyes. He can see. That's what we should be pleading for, is Yah to open his ear to hear what we're saying, because we only have a certain amount of time. See how desolated we are. We're done. As well as the city which bears your name. You bear his name, and so does the city. And if we bear his name, then you and I are going to have to live like that. Here's the third time he mentions this. For we plead with you. We're pleading with you. Not because of our own righteousness, but because of your compassion. Because of your compassion. Not because of any righteousness that you and I have done. Yahweh, hear. Yahweh, forgive. Yahweh, pay attention. And don't delay action for your own sake, my Elohim. You see? And because of your city and your people that bear your name. They bear his name. His city bears his name, and your people bear your name. We're the ones who bear his name. That's why. And that's what entitles us to be able to pray to the Holy One of Israel. Because no one else can get his ear like you and I can if we would do what he asked us to do. See? So he says, while I was still praying or speaking, praying and confessing my own sin and the sin of my people Israel, and pleading before Yahweh my Elohim for the holy mountain of Elohim, yes, while I was speaking in prayer, the man Gavrael, whom I seen in a vision at the beginning, swooped down on me in a full flight about the time of the evening sacrifice. And then he goes on to talk about these other things, because this prayer came about because this man wanted to know what was going to be the end of his people. So he began pleading. And as these descendants of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, I believe that you and I have a responsibility to plead to Yah on behalf of our nation and to ask him what is going to be the end of us. Because if we don't do what he's asking us to do, and if we don't confess then it's over. It's over for you. Your family's done. I just want to tell that to you because that's the truth. It's a very uncomfortable message. It doesn't feel well. I know I seem like I'm not giving you hope, but let me put it on the flip side. If we do what he says, then you and I get to live. Yah says, I sit two ways before you, life and death. It's up to us to make that decision. And he's not looking for Hebrew scholars. There's a lot of Hebrew scholars. He's not looking for people who can speak well. There's a lot of great speakers. He's not looking for who's very attractive. There's a lot of beautiful people out here. He's not looking for the wealthy. There's a lot of people who got money. What is y'all looking for? What is he really, really looking for? He's looking for individuals that say, you know what? You chose me. I want to be part of the process. And during that process, I know it's going to be painful because I have to give up a lot of stuff that I don't necessarily want to give up. There's a lot of changes that have to happen. And I have to be willing to go that way. Because you're our Elohim, you're our God, you're the one who loves us, you're the one who made a promise. And that's all you and I have to hold on to. Remember, we talked about the word aman means to grasp and take hold of. If you want this, you're going to have to do what Yaakov did when he was wrestling and he wanted that blessing. He was willing to grab hold of the Malach and not let him go. You and I cannot let go of Yah. You can't. People are trying to remove themselves and detach themselves from the Holy One of Israel. They don't want to have nothing to do with him because they believe what he's asking is unreasonable. It's unreasonable. Why can't I just eat everything out of the water? The water is clean. Why are you telling me I can't eat catfish or I can't eat shellfish? They say in the same water that this other fish is in. Why are you telling me that I can't do this? Why are you instructing me that I have to behave this way or I have to act this way? Why are you telling me who I can and cannot be with? Who and I can marry and who I can't marry? Who I can have a relationship, who I can have a friendship with, and those who I can't have a friendship with. Who are you to tell me any of these things? That's what they're saying to the Holy One. Yah says, okay. So what has Yah been to us? So I told you we're done if we don't listen. And everyone knows that. But let me tell you what Yah's been doing. Yah has been very, very patient. And that's what this is about. Moshe learned at the end of all this pleading with them that he had developed more patience. He got told he ain't going in. And out of all that, he begged Yah and he pleaded with him. And Yah said, no, can't let you do it because you violated me. You didn't sanctify me before the people. And so Moshe took the attitude, well, okay, I guess I'm not going in. So what I'm going to do, did the leadership stop? No. Did he back off and say, well, forget it. I'm not going in. So why should I not tell everybody? You and I need to have the type of attitude is like, if Yah says that you're not going because you violated him, you need to be okay with that. You figure that you're going to do something that he doesn't like and you don't, and not able to go, you need to be okay with that. Because that attitude right there would tell you something about the Holy One of Israel. It would tell you that no matter what you and I think, it doesn't matter. It's always about what he said. That's the reason why he let this happen to Moshe, the greatest leader, the greatest servant that Yah has ever had. He's the most faithful in all his house, the most humble man. So if the most humble man is not able to go in because of his error, who are you and I? He's a servant of the Most High, and he wasn't able to go in. What is he trying to tell us? He's trying to tell us that we better sharpen up, and we have to accept the truth about who we are and who he is. And we need to develop more patience because Yah's been patient with us. He's been very kind, and he's been very patient. And even in his patience, he still intends on bringing justice. And how that's meted out is none of my business. I have nothing to do with how it's going to be carried out. All I know is he said he's going to carry it out. And I just don't want to be on that side of it. But patience. That's what we have to do. We have to become more patient. and we have to become more patient with one another, and we have to become more patient with those who are rebels. Because no matter what is going down, they're gonna be dealt with. Period. Like all of us are. So if we know that, if you know the end of something, right, and you know that this is what Yah said, he said, anybody who does these things, they're going to be severely dealt with. He said, I'm going to repay them. So if you already know that, the best thing that you and I could do is show a little bit more sympathy, empathy, and patience. Just be more patient, because Yah's been patient with Israel. Israel has never done not one single thing that Yah's asked him to do. He says it over and over again. You've never done anything I have asked you to do. Nothing. These children have been so rebellious to him that he says, you haven't done anything, not one thing that I've asked you to do. Nothing. This is a downer. No, it's not. It's not a downer. It's reality. It's not religion. It's reality. The reality is that the Creator says something. Hear heaven and listen earth, for Yahweh is speaking. I've raised and brought up children, but they have rebelled against me. An ox knows his owner, and a donkey its master's stall, but Israel does not know. My people don't reflect. O sinful nation, a people weighed down by iniquity, a descendants of evildoers. So if you want to know where you came from or where you come from, you need to understand, as much as you love Big Mama and Grandpa like I do, you got to understand that no matter how nice they were, they're descendants of evildoers, and they're immoral children. They have abandoned Yahweh, and they have spurned the Holy One of Israel, and they turned their backs on him. And the question is, where should I strike you next as you persist in rebelling? Where? Where's the next hit? Where's it going to come from? Where's it at? What is it going to take for us? I'm tired. I'm tired of being hit. I don't want that. I don't like it. And because of that, I choose to listen to the words of the living Elohim. Thank you guys today for participating in class. I'm open for any questions or concerns, statements, contributions. Okay, let's see. We have a question. Recently, some friends I cannot join. No, I say this. There's a question about, I hope you don't mind me. I don't know if it was direct. Okay. No. To answer your question, without going too many details, I would say that if the people are trying to convince you to go against something, against the Holy One of Israel, you don't want to do it. If they're bent on just not doing what he says, the quickest way that you can, avoid having these conversations is always talk about what he says, and do you keep your ties with him? No. I mean, that's my honest opinion. I have people that were part of my life that I, prior to coming into this truth, and we were really, really close. We were like, hamburgers and hot dogs, and it didn't work out because, they didn't understand. And everything that I'm saying is just oozing out, hey, about the commandments, about this, but that, and people generally will leave you and they won't want to be around you anymore. They'll put some distance, between you, and that's fine. Putting distance between people is great, because if they're not going to be supportive, right? Because that's how we operate. You're trying to support something that they don't want to support. The word that we had today was aman, which is faith, and to be true, and to be supportive, to be faithful. So in order for us to be faithful servants, you think about, well, did the prophets, did they bend? Did Moshe bend when he said what he said? Should I bend on what the Torah says? And the answer to that is no. Don't bend. Don't bend on the Torah. I mean, people want me to bend all the time. You got to fight for what you believe in. And if that means that you got to lose everything, then that's what it has to be. And that's okay, in my opinion. You know, that's just my opinion. For me, for you might look at it differently. You know, for you, relationships, you know, it may mean more to you than that. It just depends. You know, but we're not going around deliberately saying, oh, I'm cutting you off, I'm cutting you off, I'm cutting you off, I'm cutting you off. They'll literally cut themselves off, because you'll be saying, hey, I can't do this on Shabbat. And I'll be like, oh, okay. And then, you know, you never come to any parties, and it'll fade away. You know, and then you start talking to them about the Torah, they don't want to hear it. Hopefully it answers your question. But pray about it and ask the Most High to show you like what it is. And sometimes he will show you in a dream. He'll tell you what to, if you got to leave a person alone through a dream. I've received plenty of dreams about certain people that I had to get away from, because in my dream they did something to me, or it was kind of bad. So I had to. He lets you know. Yah like warns you in your dreams. He tells you what's going to happen before it happens. If you're connected to him, he'll talk to you. He'll tell it to you in some kind of way. And let's see. Shalom. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to definitely miss you, Claudia and Jeff. We're going to miss you guys. But we know that, you know, come on, you're more than welcome to always come to your Torah class. I mean, we were a couple of hours, you were a couple of hours ahead of us, like I think 3, but we're here for you. We love you guys, and we're going to miss you guys. Praise be to the Holy One of Israel. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Because I'm not your sister. I'm your brother. I'm your Aki. Kiss Jeff for me. Tell him I miss him. I love him.
Yeah, he will call you later.
Oh, okay. Good. Yeah, well, praise the Holy One of Israel.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Any contributions? Any additions, subtractions? Anything? Anybody else want to say anything? All right. With that being said, I'll close out, and I'm on time today. So praise the Holy One of Israel. I'm on time. So the closeout on this is going to be what I call our outro, which says, let me pull it up right quick. Something for us to think about. It says, Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu melech haolam, Yatzar or uvarei koshek osei shalom uvarei et hakol. And what that means is, blessed are you, Yahweh, our Elohim, the King of the world. He is forming the light, and he's creating darkness, and making peace, and creating all things. Praise be to the Holy One of Israel. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Praise be to the Holy One of Israel. You guys have a great week, and I'll see you on Tuesday.
Shalom. Thank you.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Bye.